It is March 12th, 2025. I'm here with my co-librarian, David Wang, and we have the pleasure to be joined today by Reverend Joseph Pei of All Saints Episcopal Church in Great Neck. And Reverend Pei, I see that you brought a lot of materials with you today, so I was wondering if you could tell us about what you brought.
Sure, I brought our church card that they made in our 100th anniversary. So here it is. Our church was consecrated in 1886. So All Saints is one of the oldest religious buildings and institution in Great Neck. We'll be celebrating 140th next year. So yeah, I brought this. Do I just continue what I brought? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
we
know
could-
it was like a show and tell, but
No, it's just like a discussion. about
sure,
what you
absolutely.
brought.
And this is our Strawberry Festival. Last year, we continue our Strawberry Festival. It's been here for 106, so this year will be 107th Strawberry Festival. I know that it has been a community celebration since the very beginning. And in olden days, I think, I have some pictures here too about the whole history. In olden days, they used to actually close the schools for 2 days and to celebrate for like 2 days as a.
Where was it? Where was the festival?
It was
Always
held in
held?
All Saints Church.
Always in the
yeah,
church?
ground, yeah. So outside and inside, they had like a dance, they had a lot of these carnivals, and every year we have a different theme. Last year it was Joy Together as a part of coming together to celebrate spring as well as being together.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you could tell me more like how the Strawberry Festival, how has it been impacting the community in Great Neck throughout the years?
I think it's been a kind of a community gathering for all people because it's despite your religious background, your cultural background, everyone is invited to celebrate together, and we have the local dignitaries come as well. Since 2010, when I came here, I guess I can go into a little bit of history
Go
of
into
All
as much-
Saints
this is all
Church.
you, yeah.
I came here in 2010 as a part of our mission initiative of the diocese to bring 3 churches together and work together. So there's a St. Paul's Church in downtown Great Neck, and All Saints Church here, and St. Joseph's in Flushing, which was Korean congregation. They joined together. So 3 churches came together as a one, and we called ourselves Great Neck Episcopal Ministry, not too creative, but it's a Great Neck and Episcopal Ministry. So we've been working together as a one church, and it's very diverse congregation. We have services in English and Korean.
What is the address of your church?
855 Middle Neck Road, Great Neck, New York.
And what made the St. Joseph's congregation want to join with your
Because of the growing population here in Great Neck of the Asian population, especially Koreans. I know the South has always been kind of, a lot of Asian community there, but the North has been growing recently. So St. Joseph joined here to kind of reach out and serve the needs of the changing community here.
And just before you go, what were the names of some of the local dignitaries you said that would come to
The village mayors, the Hempstead executives, and yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember their names.
No problem. Yeah, so I would like to tell us more about the
Yeah,
history
so
of the
when we
church.
joined together, we kind of expanded our, over the years, the Strawberry Festival has been very, was very big for 2 days, and it was a whole celebration of people coming together. And then when we came here, we were kind of, like everything else, it was kind of going down. But a lot of things were very simplified and minimized. But when we came together, we decided to really make it into a celebration that for the whole community. So we brought some of the cultural events into the Strawberry Festival. So there's a Korean wrestling, traditional wrestling, called Sirum. So we have one of our parishioners is actually the president of the association in New York, and he himself was a wrestler in Korea. So we have like 2 professional wrestlers. So they decided to kind of teach and then have fun and offer to the community. So we had like a competition so people can sign up and learn about how to do the wrestling. we turned our courtyard into a wrestling match kind of sandbox so that they were able to practice there. And then we also brought some of our music too, traditional Korean music with dances, with the drums. We work together with the Korean school nearby. So they come and they'll play drums and other stuff and dance around. We had ladies from Flushing who are doing traditional dances and some instruments, so they came. And then of course, you know, the festival without food, you gotta have a Korean food. So we had a lot of bulgogi, the beef and marinated beef and other stuff too. So it become more of like a cultural, but still kind of continuing the same ethos of bringing people together.
What's the name of the Korean school that was near that you said comes?
It was Hangyal. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a part of our church, and then they moved to Flushing now. Yeah.
Okay. And what were the names of the wrestlers that came?
The wrestler from Korea, we had actually professionals who came here. I don't
Okay.
remember their names, but Simon is our member, and he's the president.
Okay.
Yeah, and he used to play.
Okay. What's his full name?
Simon Sang-hyun Kim.
Okay.
Yeah, he was actually featured in Wall Street, not New York Times.
So can you tell us more about that article that he was featured in? What did they feature?
He was
in?
featured because of what he tended to do with his to bringing the Korean heritage to the United States and bringing kids together and then sharing the diversity and the Korean culture.
Yeah, very interesting. And speaking of Korea, I'd also like to touch on your biography. So I know that you grew up in South Korea, and I was wondering if you could talk about your experience growing up in
Sure.
South Korea and what made your family come to the United States.
Right, I was born in South Korea. My father was a bishop in Anglican Church in Korea. When my father retired, we came to the States. So I was 14. My aunt came here in 1950s, so she invited us for immigration. So we came. We came to California, Southern California, in Orange County. So I was 14 and I came, moved around a lot. I've been to, after high school, I went to Philadelphia for college, and then after Philadelphia, I moved to Seattle, and Seattle to Connecticut, Connecticut to Chicago, to Virginia, and then finally here. So I've been moving around even a lot in Korea too, because of my father being a minister. So we've been moving around a lot.
What are some of your early memories about hearing your father's sermons in church? And is that what inspired you to pursue the?
Well, I cannot say it didn't inspire me. Obviously, I grew up in that faith, and I learned about God from the faith growing up. But he was always talking about the love and the goodness and the dignity that every human being has by God-given gift, and that kind of remained with me. So in my field of ministry, one of the things that we uphold as our baptismal covenant as we become a Christian is to uphold the dignity and respect for every human, and we try to do that in our ministry.
Very fascinating. And also, so what brought you to Great Neck, to the Episcopal Church?
It was in 2010. Before I came to Great Neck, I was at the Cathedral of Incarnation in Garden City. I served there for 6 years, and when we have a new bishop, I felt that I needed to try something different. So I approached the bishop, and I wanted to do a cluster ministry. So here we have a St. Paul and All Saints, and then St. Joseph. So 3 small congregations were working together. So that was kind of a model that I was talking with the bishop, and I wanted to try that here. And then at that time, the Korean church needed a priest. Their priest retired, so they didn't have a priest for a long time.
What was his name?
Father Kim,
And
Kim.
what was the name of the bishop?
Bishop, he's still here, so
what's his name?
Provenzano.
Okay.
Bishop Lawrence Provenzano in the
Okay.
Diocese of Long Island. Yes.
So who was the head of who was the previous minister at All Saints before you took over?
Father Mauricio Wilson was
Okay.
here for I think about 6 years, and then he moved to California.
Oh, so tell us about how it was for you when you started and more experience you had of leading All Saints Church.
Sure. I came here with a group of clergy. So there were 3 of us. I was full-time clergy, and then we had a deacon, Deacon Lawrence Constance, and we have a part-time priest, Father Charles McCarron. Father Charles McCarron since then has moved, and he's at Shelter Island at St. Mary's. Deacon Connie, unfortunately, she retired. It's good for her, but not too good for me. So I've been alone since 2016, so I've been serving alone. But in 2013, all 3 churches became one church. So, but we took the name of All Saints Church because All Saints Church has been here for the longest. So, and St. Paul, St. Joseph, we're all saints. So we decided to just go with the name All Saints Church. So it's a one church. In finance and in management, in the vestry and the board, everything is one church, except we have 2 language services. So we have a Korean service at noon and English service at 10. And once a month, we have a joint service. So I brought our joint service bulletin here,
Yeah.
which is in English and Korean. This was our last joint service, which was the last Epiphany, right before Lent. So yeah, I'll leave it here. So we have one side that's in Korean, one side in English, so that everyone can follow. One thing I don't do is to repeat because it takes such a long time to repeat. So it was kind of confusing at first for some, but now the people are very used to following the bulletin and they're used to doing that. So we've been doing that. We do our youth groups and other formations. Some formations are in English, some formations are Korean because some of the Koreans are still not fluent in English. But some younger generation, they can speak English. So, we have kind of intergenerational programs, that we can do.
I was going to ask you, so what other programs do you offer at the church, like that are open to the community?
Right. We have a thrift shop that's been open since, I don't even know when they opened it, but it's like been going around for a long time, and they open on Tuesdays. But one thing that we opened up as a part of our community reach out ministry is called Nanum Center, Nanum Sharing Center. Nanum means in Korean sharing. So this is kind of a center that you share your gift. So I brought this as a kind of like a sample. We have a pottery class. One of our parishioners is talented in pottery, so they made this for All Saints Church for Strawberry Festival with a magnet. So we have a Nanum Center, pottery class. We had a saxophone class. Somebody who plays saxophone will teach the saxophone. I talked about the Korean wrestling serum. Right. So we had somebody who's teaching serum. We had a member who was doing taekwondo. So we did a taekwondo class and Korean class as a language class. So right now, we have a painting class that's continuing, and then our pottery class been probably the longest. And since pandemic, we kind of had to stop everything. But after we reopened, pottery class really flourished, and then painting class. Yeah. And then now we have a self-defense class on Thursdays, and pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah, pickleball. Our the fellowship is a big hall. And then they turned it into a pickleball court. So we have a pickleball going on. We have kind of started an association, Korean Association for Pickleball in New York. It's our first. So we have a lot of people come every night to play pickleball at our hostel.
What's the name of the association for pickleball?
It's here too.
Okay.
Yeah, Pickleball Association.
Okay.
So yeah, this is our bulletin as just calls it pickleball.
Gotcha.
New York Korean Pickleball Association, KAPANA.
You'll bring them from Flushing
Yes, yeah. Well,
because you have the space.
So
right, we have the flood, but most of the people are actually from Great Neck too. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
you
have
go.
2 questions.
Sure.
One is more community, like outreach driven, and one is more personal, like
Okay,
kind
sure.
of just what I wanted to ask you about. The first being community outreach. I recently moved into Great Neck Terrace, which is, I find there are a lot of Korean Americans in that community. And they all go to our Lakeville branch, which is next to H Mart Plaza. And so one thing is Lakeville is right next door to the kendo and the Korean drumming like lessons and stuff. Is that like one place where you could like outreach to, or you find like how do you decide strategically like where you can go in the community to like outreach to your constituency or possible to activate like members in the community? And my second question is more of like denomination, like working with the synagogues, all the Jewish synagogues. And for me, the Unitarian Church in Manhasset, do you have any relations with, other denominations, so those two questions.
Right, sure. I'll go with the interdenominational question first. When I first came here, we had a very active interfaith clergy association. And I think Rabbi Whittem, he's been here for probably the longest than any of us. He was instrumental in bringing people together. So we used to meet together. And then when I first came here, I think the Thanksgiving service, interfaith Thanksgiving service, was offered at All Saints Church. I opened the door because I'm new, so I invited everyone to do the service there. And I don't know what happened, but unfortunately, that interfaith, clergy association is not meeting regularly, and I think we kind of lost the main players like, Rabbi Whittem, and then the Catholic Church too. But anyway, so I haven't been really working with interfaith. That's unfortunate because we do have a lot of groups here, and I hope that maybe we can revive that. That's one of the areas that we can really work on as a clergy together, rabbis and all the interfaith ministry to come together and offer services. I know we used to meet for Martin Luther King. We had a special service for that, interfaith. That's the first question you ask about outreach. When I say outreach, it's not necessarily a membership driven, but it's just offering our talents and our services and the resource to the community. So we don't actively go out to recruit or for membership or letting the church know, which is kind of our weakness too. We should actually go out and really, but we don't do that. We rather say, we have this program, and if you need it, then come and join us. So we're kind of offering, but without necessarily being our member. So a lot of the people who come for Nanum Center, all these different classes, most of them are not our members. Mm-hmm. They continue to come, and they have a fellowship, and then they will help us out in like Strawberry Festival. They'll come and help. If there is a need that we need, we offer monetary, and then we send funds to overseas as well as Episcopal Relief and Development. When things like that happens, they'll chip in and they'll offer their services and volunteer. But they are not our Sunday attendant members. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just have two questions that are open-ended questions. So you mentioned COVID before, so I would like to know what the experience you had at leading the church was like during COVID, during the pandemic.
Yes.
And how did it affect the church, and how did it affect the congregation?
Sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people can go back to the memories they have, and it's probably vivid for what they've been going through in COVID. It was really made a mark in our both history and personally too. At the onset of COVID, we closed the church, but we moved right away into a Zoom service. And instead of, when I was like choosing different venues to do the services online, I decided to do Zoom because I wanted to be participatory. Because people are so isolated in their home, I wanted them to feel like we have a community here. So on Sunday, when you turn on the Zoom, you can talk to me, you can talk to each other, we can pray together, read together. So that's what I did until we reopened. And then I think we reopened kind of like in stages. And then we had a hybrid service, which is we had an online as well as the people person. So they are in the church and praying together. One of the things that happened is, with a lot of other churches and probably with religious institutions, after COVID, people didn't come back necessarily. They didn't come to church. I don't know what happened individually, probably have a different responses and reasons. But overall, our attendance dropped significantly. So it had an impact, but we are exploring and seeing what really church means. I think it's a good thing that we went through such a difficult, I can't say, COVID was good, but I think something like that brings people together as well as to really think about what we're doing. So like, what is really church? Like, why do I feel I need to go to church on Sunday? What does that do for me? Is it really meaningful? I think after COVID, unless it's meaningful, people just don't come or don't do it. I think they don't have, we don't have time for BS or things that are not working for us. And I think that makes sense. And I think that's a good thing. Because I want people to come to church because they experience God and their life is connected to divine being and His presence. If they just come because it's a social or people just used to do, so it's just something cultural that I do, I mean that's okay too, because it brings an opportunity for people to encounter God. But I think it's important that you really have an experience with God. If you are, that's what church means, and the community, and what it means to be in community. People who are loving and people who are accepting and forgiving and willing to forgive. So that's where we are. In Korean congregation, it's less affected by COVID. We have people who are coming more consistently, and we have newcomers who are joining us, which is a wonderful thing. So I do have a newcomers class and confirmation class and things like that.
So I was just wondering, just to go off on that, what was the relationship like? Like, what was your experience dealing with like local town officials regarding COVID, and also in general, what has the relationship been with All Saints when you've been there and before you, like dealing with the local government? Because I know you mentioned dignitaries came to
Right.
the festival, so I was wondering if you could go into that. Like, what is the history?
I think we have a cordial relationship with people in elected officials. Some of them know that we are involved community, so they like to be part of that too. So we're very active with the Boy Scouts. Our church sponsors Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. So they come on Memorial Day parade. Before the parade, they come and they put the flags on our cemetery. It's an annual event, and then it's in newspapers obviously, and some dignitaries come to do that. And I'm there, of course, as a part of representing the cemetery and the church. And then they always ask me about, when's the Strawberry Festival, Father? Is it gonna be happen this year? I'd like to be there. Please let me know. And they'll come, and then they'll just say something about what's happening in the community, and offer themselves for the service. To the people who are gathered. If there's something that they can be of help, please let us know.
So my two last things that I was hoping you could go into, and I'm glad you mentioned the cemetery, because so All Saints Cemetery, it's very famous in Great Neck. There's a lot of famous Great Neck citizens who are buried there. So I was just wondering if you could tell us a little history about the cemetery and which people you've noticed have been buried there that stuck out to you, who are famous, and
I'm actually, I know the history of the cemetery, but I'm not familiar with all the names of the, except the Jewel family, who was part of our church family. As you know, the cemetery is part of the church, So it began as the church cemetery. So we have the people from our congregation who are like the founding members of the church. So those families are there. And then I think we opened up in the 80s to the wider community. So that's when we expanded. So we kind of exploded, have a lot of people from, not from Great Neck, but all over the Long Island and in the city as well. And then all different religions. We have people from Old Stocks Church, we have some Jewish neighbors who are buried there, of course Roman Catholics, Presbyterians, but very diverse community. Yes, community of cemetery there.
And has that cemetery has been there since the church began, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I think last year, one of our Boy Scouts project, Eagle Scout project, was to kind of dig into and then clean up the old plot. And I think they found 2 plots that belong to the Civil War veterans. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they were able to clean that up and then made it nice.
Very cool. Yeah, so my last question will be, do you know any of the past famous ministers at All Saints throughout its years and any big impact they had on the church that still carries forward today?
I think Father Gary Mayer is somebody, people keep talking about because I think he was here and he was also park commissioner as well. So he had a lot of influence in the church and the community as well. And a lot of people remembers him. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Reverend Pai, for joining
Sure.
us. It was a pleasure, and thank you for telling us the history of your career in All Saints Church and how it's been involved in Great Neck.
Great.
Thank you.